Cash Flow Diary Podcast, episode 75.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cash Flow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
Welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast. I am your host, Jay Massey. Glad to be here. Glad that you are here. I'm hoping that you are enjoying all the entrepreneurs that are here, that are contributing, that are helping you and I continue to build our cash flow in various different ways. As many of you know, we do it primarily through real estate investing. That's what we do. We got apartment complexes, cell phone towers, commercial real estate, etc. And those things are great. But yet there are so many more ways to do cash flow. And that's what I get excited about, is because it's something that many of us are seeking. We just want to know how to create it. For those of you looking for an easy way to get started in the real estate world, you want to go over to learninvestingnow.com. We got a course sitting right there for you that helps you begin the process of learning how to create your cash flow, again, using none of your own money or credit. For those of you who are like, you know what, I don't have the necessarily time that I want to invest into beginning, from scratch, but I've got some money I'd like to put to work. You want to go over to Begin Investing Now. We've got cash flowing assets sitting there for you so that you can go ahead and take some massive immediate action. Now, today, though, as many of you know, we've been going through this process of learning how to take everything in the real estate world, put it online, make it available, et cetera, et cetera. And having done that, or in the process of doing that, you've learned and you've seen and you keep hearing about this magical software known as InfusionSoft. And you're like, what is this thing? Well, right now I'm learning a lot about it. So you get the privilege of learning a lot about it too. But more importantly, you get the privilege of learning of how to use things, how to use the tools that can go out there to create cash flow. And we've got many more dynamic individuals coming your way, but definitely what you would call, or what many would call, the InfusionSoft Master here with us today. And I want you to hear a lot about how you can think about your business in various different ways, and regardless of the type of business that you're using, how to go about being able to use higher level software, higher level concepts to go out there and create cash flow for yourself. So I'm excited to take some notes. Hopefully you are too, and listen to Mr. Micah Mitchell. Micah, you there?
I am. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that I randomly ran into you outside of InfusionSoft, the conference, and it's just, my mind is still on fire. Does that happen every year?
Yeah, it does, and happens to most everybody.
So you got to help me understand a little bit. One day you just wake up and say, okay, I want to be the InfusionSoft Master. Is that what you do? Or typically, is there more to the story as to how you figured out all the inner workings and how you are able to automate, help people automate their business and focus on what really matters?
Well, I didn't just wake up one day and say I want to be an InfusionSoft Master. There were a few precursor steps to that, but I'll give you the rundown a little bit. It's basically that I'm lazy. I mean, that's not speaking,
I
you
love
know,
it.
too highly of myself, but being lazy, when I first encountered this whole idea of CRM, which is customer resource management, basically a database for people's customers to go into, I just loved it because it was saying, hey, let's put the data in here, but then let's do stuff so that you don't have to. When an email needs to get sent, let's send it. If someone responds in a certain way, let's handle that, in a different way than if they had responded in a different way. So it's this kind of workflow automation, save time, that first really excited me about it, honestly. It wasn't even the marketing, let's sell some stuff or whatever. It was that I had been working with a lot of businesses that had plenty of sales and they just had a lot of operational issues, a lot of costs, and that sort of thing. And so when I first saw it, it was kind of accidental. I was in this CRM world and A client asked me, what's the difference between Infusionsoft and the one you're talking about? And I said, well, I don't know what Infusionsoft is. Can we go do a demo or whatever, and I'll show you a demo of this. And when I saw the demo of Infusion, you could say, your whole thing of like waking up one day, want to become an Infusion master. I was just like, oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. And so there was a point where there was a very distinct switch, but I was already kind of on that track, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. In fact, it was more of a solution to a problem that you were experiencing more than you were seeking it for some sort of monetary gain.
Yeah. So I started in the Infusionsoft world as just another client, and after working with it for so long, the Infusion was smaller back then, and so I knew all the owners and everybody, and they started referring me clients who'd say, well, do you know anyone who's technical who can help us with this? Because back in the day there just wasn't anyone. As you can imagine, it was new.
Right. There was no Jedi. There was no Yoda for them to follow at the moment. It was all being created brand new at the time.
Yeah, exactly. um, and so yeah, I mean, that's how I got into Infusion. And since then it's been, there was one other turning point that I'll mention, and it was I was reading Michael Gerber's Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, which had been a gift from Infusionsoft for something. And I was just reading the book, and he talks about how you have to pick something, and it's not about money, and it's all about just passion. And I realized that's Infusion for me. And so at that time I still had other type of work, and I just kind of dropped it all, and it all became Infusionsoft. I should mention, if I may, real briefly, for those of you who don't know what Infusionsoft is, the term infusion and soft, they're just saying trying to infuse all the different parts of your business into one system. So it's that they're trying to get a hold of all the different things going on and give you, the owner, control over it and create predictability and so forth, in general terms. So it can help in all sorts of situations.
And that's the thing that I've been going through this process and learning, and I hope everyone else is hearing and learning at the same time, is how many different ways this software has been used, can be used, is being used by so many different people. Now, I also don't want everyone to miss something. He mentioned the book. Remember, here's the rule, all right? Don't wait for him to say, go get this book, go read this book. He mentioned the book by Michael Gerber, Awakening the Entrepreneur Within. So just take that on merit. That is probably something you and I should definitely consume. I know I'm sitting here taking notes, writing it down, going, you know what? I need to go look into that one so that way I can add that to my library. But what I love, and here's what I've been learning about Infusionsoft, because from a real estate investor standpoint, there's so many of our processes that are paper driven, person driven, and we do the same ones over and over. Every time we open escrow, we do the same steps. Every time we close escrow, every time we collect rent, every time we do these things, it's the same steps. But this particular piece of software has many different ways of helping us to automate those things, and that's what I get excited about. Now, from what I understand of everything that you've been able to bring to the marketplace, though, you've taken this into a completely different focus around membership sites and but creating passive income from that. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Yeah, I definitely can. So on the membership side of things, what that's usually about is there's these people who have spent a lot of time providing typically services, and that's a good business, a service business. But obviously, it's hard to replace yourself, hard to keep good people and that sort of thing. There's obviously techniques for it, but there's just a lot of people who use Infusion, who are trying to get into selling more information and leverage their knowledge versus just keep spending their time and energy. And so as they go to do that, there's, I guess, a couple ways to do it. You can go speak, you can create big membership courses online. What's cool about Infusion is there's a breed of entrepreneurs who do kind of all of it. So they speak, they do podcasts, they have membership sites, and they see it as, their overall strategy in providing value to their customers. Because when we talk about cash flow, if you think about Infusionsoft, it's really kind of value flow or transaction flow. Even if it's not a cash transaction, if it's a document being processed or just time being saved somewhere, things getting communicated properly, all of that impacts the overall cash flow. But the membership site, I think, is really a sweet spot for some of these people because they go from a scenario where they might even be a really highly paid consultant, a few $100s an hour, even up from there maybe, but they go from that to where, oh, well, I just made a few $100s at night while I'm asleep. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with that in the real estate business. making money off of actual projects and deals and stuff versus hard work. And there's a lot of businesses though who that's the transition they're making. They're making this transition from just kind of working their tails off to, I'm smart, I've got experience, I've done all this stuff, I should be making more, and that's the way they go do it. Is they leverage it through a membership site. They put their knowledge together, and they get it out there. And there's right and wrong ways to do that. If you just plaster the wall with information and people don't have any guidance as to where to go and what to grab, there's a problem with that. So these business owners are really getting into the higher end of it. They're getting into kind of learning management systems where they're not just saying, here's all my stuff, but here's my stuff, here's where you're going to start, and we're going to hold your hand and track the process as you go through it. And what they get out of that is, for the same product, for the same knowledge that they were already trying to leverage, just by putting it into videos or whatever, downloads or workbooks, they're now getting more leverage from it because they're actually getting consumption. And that's kind of the new thing, and something that Infusionsoft is great with is it's not just a repository for what you know to stick it up there and you have that kind of field of dreams mentality. If you build it, they'll come. It's if you build it and you promote it and you make sure it's a nice venue, and there's everything that the people are going to need, then yeah, they're going to come and they're going to bring friends and they're going to come over and over and over and over. And so the overall value that most people are getting here is, it's not a one-time visit, it's not a one-time even transaction. It's an ongoing service that I'm providing automatically in mass. And so there's going to be a reward for that. And obviously you can kind of mess with the little parts of it to drive that up or down. But hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, but yes, as a side note, those of us with buy and hold property, we do understand what it means to make money in your sleep, which is kind of cool. But now you mentioned something really, really fast. You said there's a right and a wrong way to do this. So in your world, what is that small business owner, if I'm trying to develop my cash flow from, I'm starting from zero, how long does it take, and what's the right way to get this process started? I mean, it seems so overwhelming. I know it can seem that way as we're talking, that there's so many things to do, but what's like the simple 5-step plan that can at least get someone started?
Well, so I'll give you the two ends of that spectrum, and it's just to put it into context. So it used to be that I would go into people and I'd say, "Hey, we have to make sure you have a perfect product, a perfect deliverable service, and then we'll figure out how to sell it, and then we'll figure out how to get people to come and buy it." But with the startups, I take kind of the opposite approach. If you're starting from scratch and you're looking at things, I would say you want to focus the other way around. So I use an acronym. It's LSD. It wasn't exactly intentional, but it's memorable. And it's leads, sales, delivery. So when you start in Infusionsoft, I just encourage people, don't go to your delivery right away. Don't go make a product. Make something that will help you capture leads. Make something that's going to interest people. And once you've got leads, again, still don't go make a product. Make some sales offers, sell some things that are under development, pre-sell a little bit. It's not saying that you're being dishonest. It's saying there's a way to tell people, hey, we're going to have this event about this topic, who would come, and how many of you are willing to put down some money for that? Because sometimes people will say, yeah, we'd buy that or we'd do this, but asking for money is a totally different thing. So there's a way to go about this as a startup to say, okay, first I need to generate leads, because that's going to be the pool of people I can sell to anyways. And so then I can start generating offers and try to sell some stuff to people. And when I figure out what they'll actually buy, what the leads I have will buy, then I go and I make that product. And that approach has saved a lot of my clients a lot of money. The opposite approach that again I used in bigger businesses works totally fine, because they can't just, they can't be willy-nilly at all. They've got to know what's going to happen at the next stage before they start talking about a sales thing to their thousands or tens of thousands of people. Otherwise, they've got a lot of inquiries and questions and whatever that just aren't necessary. But for a startup, that's just the way to go. What happens is your market will tell you each step of the way, so you're not blowing a ton of money you don't have. And that's really, that's kind of the whole gist of it. If you go LSD, leads, sales, delivery, then by the time you're delivering, you've got people to buy it. By the time you're selling, you've got enough leads to try those offers out on. If you think of the opposite direction, starting with nothing, and this is what I've seen a few times, is that people will build something that they're just sure other people will love, and then they can't figure out how to sell it, but they're already in debt for building it. and they can't even figure out where to get leads to come in. So it's, they've just started in the wrong direction. And if they were lucky, they guessed exactly what delivery should be, exactly what sales should be by the time they got to leads. But typically that's not the case, just because, they can't predict all that. So that'd be the main thing I'd say. It's not 5 steps, it's maybe just 3, but just LSD, nice and memorable.
Well, right now I'm just hoping no one's listening to this like on speaker, because we're talking about LSD and suddenly the people around them are wondering what kind of conversation this is. But I definitely, you're right, memorable for sure. So when it comes down to generating those leads, because again, and I'm assuming your thought process is all of that information can be delivered, managed, and tracked through the software known as InfusionSoft. But and it becomes more than that. Because that's what's beginning to happen for us, is that we're probably 90, a little over 90 some odd days into using this, and all of our information is starting to aggregate in one spot, which is kind of cool. So it's giving us a better picture on terms of our leads and what's going down. My question is, how does the small business person or the person who's just starting manage to corral all of these things? Like, could they get started in a weekend? Is that still possible? I mean, maybe it used to be that way, but is that still something you see people doing from scratch?
Well, the good news is Infusion itself has gotten a lot easier. Like the software is more intuitive, it's visual, you're kind of dragging and dropping and mapping things together. And I'll give you just one example for those of you who aren't familiar with it. You drag a circle on there, and the circle is going to represent some way that the customer can interact with you. And then you drag a rectangle on there, and that's going to represent what you do after they've interacted with you. So it's gotten to that level of simplicity, but if it's your very first time sitting down and you say, I'm going to make a business, then that's a lot different than I know exactly what needs to happen. It's just not happening. I need to functionally put it together. So if you have a working business concept, yeah, weekend is enough. There was one kind of a funny story, but I'll share it. We had somebody come out to a little get together, and it was like an implementation. It wasn't like, speaking from stage and that. It was just a few people of our private mastermind group, and they all brought their computers, and we all sat around and just implemented and ate junk food. And it was good. But one of them, they really quickly decided that the whole plan they had come with was just not going to work. And so they changed their plan to something different that they had been thinking about. And we're just like, yeah, I've always wanted to do this. I think it would work. I don't know how to get it to happen right. And so in that situation where it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. A good idea can be implemented in a weekend, especially with Infusion being simple now. If you go in, and this is why I say again, lead sales delivery, if you go in with a poor idea and you do the best implementation in the world, it's still not going to work. There's like a saying in the automation community: you can't automate crap, or you're going to get more crap. And so it starts there. But if you have a good idea operationally, yeah, you can throw up a web page, you can have a form on there to capture people's info that sends them a free report, or maybe schedules an appointment for you or whatever. If you know what you're doing, if you know what you want to do, you can implement rather quickly. And so those of you who have any sort of deal flow going on, the idea here is to scale it and to try to systemize it a little and make it predictable, so that when you're saying the right things and transactions are happening and moving along like you want, you just think, okay, that worked. Now I need to go put this into Infusionsoft so that happens every time. But yeah, you can get startup stuff done in a weekend. And I should finish that story. So the gal who did that, and she switched her model, she ended up getting over 100 customers that next weekend. And it was because it was a need. It was like a glaring need in her marketplace that someone had to fill and no one had. And that's why it worked so well. And I'm not trying to be discouraging to the startup who doesn't know for sure if it's going to work. I'm just trying to say that there's a big difference. This software doesn't solve problems. It's your idea being a good one, being leveraged, or kind of put out to market through the software. That's usually how people get success. And yeah, it can happen rather quickly.
Okay, now this is an important point, because I've often told people that nobody on the planet has a money problem. Everyone has an idea problem, and what you're telling me is, in my opinion, it's supporting that very concept. Meaning, if I come up with a good idea, you're telling me in a weekend I can find out really how good we all think our ideas are good, but we can go find out in the course of a weekend whether or not my idea has any merit to the marketplace. So I guess my question becomes is how do I develop that barometer of this is good idea that has legs and this one isn't? What do you use and how do you help people with that?
Yeah, great question. So when I talked about getting leads, that's where I do a lot of, you could say even the product testing is on my leads, because what I'll do is I'll say, I have this idea of building a great Infusionsoft training, let's say. Well, instead of the way I would test whether that's a good idea basically is I would make a little free Infusionsoft training, and I would track not just how many people download it, but are they reading it? How much of it are they reading? I'd send them maybe a little survey afterward for them to answer a few questions about it. And so you measure the engagement, and this is something a lot of people miss. You'll talk to a lot of marketers who say, "Oh, just capture leads and try to sell them stuff, and that's your conversion rate. However many leads you have over however many sales you got out of it, that's your percent conversion rate." And I think it's a little bit broad, just meaning that when I capture leads, I think, okay, I'm capturing leads. Let's say these are people interested in, I'll say real estate in general. Maybe pick a niche of that if you would for me, Jay.
I would say let's go with the buying and holding real estate.
Okay, so people go to a page that tells them that if they're interested in that, and I won't profess to be a copywriter here, so I won't try to make up a good headline. But let's say you have a page that people interested in it, they can put in a little information, their name and email or whatever, and then you're going to send them what they wanted, whatever it was you promised them, some secret, some technique or formula or structure, whatever that's going to help them do it. Well, once they've filled that out, what I basically do then is I'll send them a series of emails, and one is going to be about a subsection of that. So it's going to be, just buying. And in that email, you're going to talk all about that stuff, and you can have a couple links in there for them to go and maybe go read a blog post or whatever. And then the next one might be just about people who are holding. And I'm assuming that there's, even within that, buying and holding, that there's people who help on either side of the transaction, and there's a couple pieces of it. And so you basically just try to measure engagement, like which parts of this are they actually interested in, which do they either not care about or maybe know already, or maybe there's a better source for that information. And you start to figure out, okay, this is what I'm actually good at, this is what people care to hear from me about. And then you make a product along those lines, because that's the high demand thing. If you make a product that other people are already making, you're just kind of you end up in that me too space. So um,
Interesting.
yeah,
I like
that's
I like that because it's kind of it's it's what I liken to the Apple strategy. You find out you get the customer to tell you what they want and then you give it to them, then they go, "Wow, how did you know?"
yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And you're just giving us all techniques, a way to test our own ideas about that. So that's amazing. That's actually something implementable in this particular way because we all, and again, those ideas, the marketplace will tell us if they're a need. So I'm kind of curious, how did she manage to do so many? Like, what was the distribution? How did she manage to get so many so quickly? I mean, like, what is the magic place she put that? I mean, it just seems amazing to me to go from 0 to 100 customers that quickly.
Well, and this is where it works into a business you wouldn't think about for this level of software, but that's network marketing. So as a network marketing company that uh, it's what is it? They do passion parties or whatever. So it's like the ladies' party, and they sell
I see.
stuff, right?
Uh huh.
And so what it was though is all these ladies would do parties, and then they were terrible at following up after the party with all the people who had been there and doing sales and all that. There's these people who enjoyed going out and doing it, but were terrible, all around. Some were good salespeople, but couldn't schedule the parties, couldn't fill them. Others could do it the other way around and whatever. And so all she really offered was she kind of hijacked Infusionsoft a little bit, which at the time was a little more PC with them, but she basically said, join this little service and put your leads in here, and they'll automatically get a 5-step follow-up sequence that I've used in my own passion parties business, and works great. The copy's written for you. All you have to do is pop them in. And since it's kind of a franchise network marketing thing, they knew that, hey, if it works for this one consultant, that's kind of the culture there, then it's going to work for
Got it.
me. And so they piled right on. And since it's kind of a network marketing thing, it was a little bit, you could say rigged, but the same thing happens when someone has a good webinar or speaks from stage. I mean, I've seen over $1 million created in a weekend from a site that didn't exist the week before. And it's who do they know? Like, what marketing resources do they have access to? So it's a little rigged, but it's to say that she created a whole new business. She had never, like, that was not her passion parties business. It was a, kind of a software as a service business that she just launched with a few kind of simple things she cobbled together.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And what I like about that is that it's around one of those weaknesses that I think most business owners can experience. Because maybe you're really good at generating the leads and causing stuff to happen, but you mean you want me to make a follow up call, especially after the sale? For
yeah, when they already said no,
yeah,
what?
yeah, why would I do that? But here we have a way to automate that, and that's actually been one of the things that I've appreciated as well, because to build cash flow takes that relationship to a whole new level. It's more of it helps. It's been helping us deliver that relationship consistently over and over and over again for similar customer experience. Now, I'm just curious, why did you choose the whole membership route? Why was that the way, in your opinion? Why is that the way for entrepreneurs, in your opinion, to make their ideas come to life? Yep, that's right. It's that time again. It's the time where I interrupt the interview and you go, "Oh man, not right there." Yep, it is. So, wanted to give you guys a quick update though. For those of you wondering, and if you're on the audio list, meaning the audiobook is still in the production stages. Haven't forgotten about you. Definitely will be there. For those of you wondering what I am talking about, is my book, Cash Flow Diary 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy, was recently released. You do have the ability to go pick that up at cashflowdiary.com/book, or you can send in a text message with the keyword book, BOOK, to 949-682-3565. And I am now in the process of putting the audiobook together. Many of you asked that it would be my voice, that I would do it. So I'm doing my best to learn how to do an audiobook and make that happen for you. If you want to be on the list to get the notification when the audiobook is available, send a text message to 949-682-3565. The keyword is audio, AUDIO. Or you can go to cashflowdiary.com/audio. That'll do the exact same thing to make sure that you can be notified when it is available. In the meantime, I'm still out there doing the thing and getting more deals done like you guys are. One of the things that I wanted to make sure you all know about is that on Tuesdays, 4 p.m., it's another complimentary event that we do. We sit there and I will answer your questions. So make sure that when you're filling out your forms, fill out good questions, send in your deals, go over to cashflowdiary.tv, and you will see what I'm talking about. We leave the previous week's show sitting there waiting for you so you can watch me answer your questions as you type them in. Yep. Now, let's get back to the show.
well, there's a couple reasons, and I'll give a little bit of my background, even within the Infusionsoft world. So I started as a user, then became a consultant, and then kind of like the highest level consultant. I've implemented. They have a contest for ultimate marketers, and I've helped a lot of them, and even at one point became a business partner with one of them doing a mastermind group, which is a high leverage way to make money and work with high level clients and whatever. And it was good. But it also had me traveling everywhere. And so it's kind of the same things that I think younger business owners, at least myself, I didn't care about as much in my younger days, which was I'm traveling everywhere. I'm missing my wife, I'm missing my kids. If I want to take them with me, it costs 5 times as much. And even though there's ways to make more money, it kind of comes down to this freedom thing, and that's what the membership site to me is all about. It's freedom from appointments all day, freedom from traveling and speaking, freedom from answering the same question 100 times versus just making a video about it. And remember at the beginning I said I'm lazy. This is like the laziest niche within the laziest industry. You know what I mean? You make a product, and I when I say lazy, you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into your product if you're smart, but then you kick back. It's like a farmer. You plant in the spring, and during the summer you pull a few weeds and whatever, but stuff's happening for you. And so that's what I love about membership sites is every time I film a video, I know that, I'm going to be able to sell this, even if I don't sell it, even if I just have a good friend, I can give it to him. So it's also it's a way to provide value that you can just give away, sell, do whatever you want with. And that's the thing I love about membership sites most, is it just revolves around freedoms and value creation. In you don't even have to sell it, you don't have to give it away to everybody. You can even just have one and make it exclusive and give it away to only clients of a certain type. There's so many ways to leverage it for value, even in other transactions. So I just love it.
Yeah, no, and I'm beginning to learn. I'm beginning to learn those very same things. But what I hear you saying, it's like I would call that a lifestyle business. Meaning, and when I say lifestyle, I don't mean fancy cars and watches. I mean the fact is you now have the ability to earn the income you want to earn, but you more importantly have the quality of lifestyle that you want, like you said, with your kids and family. Because yeah, this is true. If, as soon as you decide to take your kids anywhere, it is cost 5 times as much, and you're nowhere near as productive when you finally got there. In the
Hmm.
first three, oh man, it's crazy. But I hear exactly what you're saying, and it makes it easy. For I know for us, part of what we've been doing is some of the education pieces. When it comes to helping people understand how to buy and hold properly, how to raise capital property. It gives us an ability to, it frees me, like you said, frees me from having to answer the same question, because there are so many of the similar questions that can be answered one time. You answer them very well, and then it's done. And then everybody who really wants the information has a way to consume it on their own schedule, and they're not waiting on us to deliver at a certain period of time, which I've definitely have begun to enjoy a lot. And it's crazy though to think, one of the other things that I've found is it gives us more reach. There's no way I would be able to reach the United Kingdom or Germany or some of these other places where we're beginning to develop customers without this type of stuff. And it's just amazing of what you can do, quote unquote, from home, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's to use a real estate analogy, it's almost like your membership site is an apartment building, and each page is a room. And if it's a profitable page that people like, it's rented. If not, it's not. But the great thing when we talk about membership sites, you can envision a place where all your good content's locked down. But technology today will let, certain people watch the full, 1 hour presentation. The public maybe gets 10 minutes. Maybe your free members get 20 minutes of it. So it's real estate that markets itself out online. Your apartment building isn't writing its own billboards and ads and whatever to get rented, but online your pages are. Google and Bing and Yahoo and everything, it's picking those pages up and indexing them so that people can stumble across them and they can come in. And so once you start making these things, I'm sure it's just like once you start building up a little bit of a portfolio of real estate that's rented and cash flowing properly, you think to yourself, now why did I do things before this, like.
Totally. And by the way, if you come up with a way to get my buildings to write their own billboards and whatnot, please let me know.
I will do that.
I have a feeling that we could make a product right now, yes, in one weekend, and make that happen. I have a sneaky suspicion we may even get an email or two, other people going, yeah, let me know when that's done, because that would be cool. So talk to me a little bit more about what you meant by that, though, because that's a concept I've not heard of. How do you have it write its own bill? What do you mean?
Well, so what I mean by that is online, everything that you let the search engines find, they're going to find and they're going to index and they're going to try to show people. They're going to try to get people to engage with it. So if I make, 10 videos just for my members, that's a great thing. And I can sell it to members and there's an exclusivity piece to that and whatever. But there's no reason I can't have the first few minutes, maybe 10% of each video show up online and 10% of maybe the transcript of the video or the bullet points or whatever show up to public users. And what happens then is Google comes along and it sees this headline that says how to X, Y, and Z in less time and blah, 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 right? And it goes and it serves that on the search engine when people search for whatever it is. And so you've basically got I should say it's like your apartments auto listing themselves in all the services because all your pages get auto listed in all the services. And that's a concept that I've been kind of pushing at for a long time, but more on a personal level with clients. And as I'm talking to some of these people, I'll give you an example. One guy's got over 400 videos, and like 300 of them are not available to the public at all. They don't exist. And so when you look at his site, or when Google looks at his site, they see he has 100 videos. Great. Well, as he switched over, and started showing excerpts, Google now sees, oh, this guy's added a ton of content. He answers over 400 questions. This guy's an expert. I'm going to move his rank up so that as people ask about whatever it is into Google or any of the other search engines, that guy's moving up partially on the amount of content, but then as people come in, the content has to be good. There are people who try to trick the search engines and make pages that are full of garbage. I'm sure everyone's seen those. That's not what I'm talking about. It's saying if you do FAQs, get those onto a page, get them out there, because someone is going to type that question into Google. And if they find you, um, and if they find you have a lot of content out there, the more content, the better, then a few things are going to happen. One, they're going to probably consume a lot of it and get a lot of value from you, to where by the time they're ready to transact with you, they're already pretty much in your boat. Two, even if they don't consume any of that, it's the impression all of that makes, where they're going to be like, man, this guy is the expert. I need to call him. I need to, buy whatever is that he has. And so that's one thing that people don't realize, is when they hide their content in some of these proprietary membership systems, the search engines aren't finding that, and they're not getting advertised. It's like an apartment building way off in some random corner that doesn't have any traffic. You're going to have to work really hard to advertise it. And do it all kind of external, versus one that's right there on the corner of a busy intersection that's very convenient and whatever. And I'm sure you guys deal more in houses and whatever, but however you want to look at it, that's the whole idea, is like your site, if you set it up right, is marketing for you. Even though it's meant to be member content, or it's meant to be a product, there's no reason to have that product not also exist as a teaser, so that people can engage with it, learn a little bit, and if they want the full thing, whatever the next step is.
My friend, you speak real estate very well. I
Oh,
like
thank you.
I like that, because I'm like, it speaks to me in such a way that I'm like, okay, I've got to do that, because I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, the house or building that's in the that's stuck in the corner next to the freeway is a little bit more difficult than the one that has, on the street corner with the sign that looks pretty that says, hey, stop in. It's like a perpetual open house where people get to come and sample and taste, that smells good and is done right. I like that. I'm assuming then that that's part of what you're able to help us do when it comes to your clients, etc. Is that one of the pieces of the puzzle that you guys are over there able to put together?
Yeah, so we do a lot of services around InfusionSoft, but one of the things we do is we actually have a software product. It's made by a really, really notable and well-known developer. So we're not the software experts, we're the service experts. He makes the product, but that's what it is it's a membership plugin for InfusionSoft. So when your business is all automated, it can use this plugin to then have your membership site automated as part of all of that. And it's pretty full automation. They can go watch one video and you can force them to force is probably a bad word, but just saying, you can ask them to indicate that they're done with it before it releases the next one. And all that goes through Infusion, meaning when they finish a video, it can send them a text that says, good job, or it can send them an email, or if you felt like it, you could send them a postcard in the mail about the next thing. So it's kind of an integrated approach. And on the broader kind of cash flow topic, just as a point of interest, probably for a lot of people, this has been something on my mind lately, is cash flow. And that's partially why we moved into software. Generally speaking, is that an actual product, there's a lot of value to an actual product versus even an informational product. Because when I create, for example, training about Infusionsoft, that has a life to it where it's going to be out of date in 6 months or a year or 2 years. With what I'm doing, it tends to be in the 6 month range. In other businesses that people might be thinking about, it could be longer. But the point is, I'm still kind of, my freedom's reduced a little bit in that I have to refilm this thing every so often. Luckily, I love it. But moving into the software space and having an actual product to sell, I use software, but let's say it was something else like, some sort of, I'll say a system that you would get a patent on, like a water filter that you have a patent on, just so that people can't barge in there. then it's the same kind of thing. You have something you can produce, maybe not free, but cheap. Like in my case, I'm producing software. It's not free. I paid developers, but comparatively cheap considering I can offer it to thousands of people. So it was a big cash flow move for us, since we're on the subject, to get into products, which is kind of the next level above info products, is some other, something that doesn't necessarily expire on you.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that's something that we've also been kicking around here. We've got some ideas specifically for some software that helps analyze real estate, and a software that helps teaches specifically a game that is software based that helps teaches some of the real estate concepts that I use consistently to do business using no money and no credit. Is that similar to what you would be saying then?
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, it's genius that you're making that a game. That's the best way to get people to consume stuff. But yeah, definitely. When you put in that software, it does, it's more of those kind of intangible things as well. As far as if you're just selling information and have written a book in this, that's one level. If you've done that and you have a product also that you can talk about and kind of joint venture with other people and whatnot, that's a totally different level, because your product, if it's good software, you can also get other guys like you, buying master licenses from you, offering to their list, and it puts you kind of a step above. I obviously does great things for the cash flow as well, and creates even more continuity than just information, because as people use that, it's providing value even if they're not watching it. That's one problem with creating information products, is a few things are going to happen. Either they're not going to watch it and then they'll eventually cancel, or they are going to watch it and they'll eventually get through it and cancel. And so you can't typically provide value forever without continuously making new content forever. Whereas, with software, like you're saying, they're going to come in every month or every week, or depending on how active they are, and they're going to be running deals or calculations or whatever through it. And they're never going to cancel that. It's providing a value for them ongoing. So there's positioning attributes to it, but there's also, to me, it's that you get completely out of that turn and burn cycle. Not that you're intending to burn anybody, but just, you can only offer them so much value and get them so far, versus, hey, we have a lifetime relationship. You're now a lifetime customer because you're using the software. Um, it basically just changes the relationship, and that's what we wanted to experience. I've done software before actually, and did well with it. It was great, but that's what we were looking to experience. And I can say now that we're in it, it has definitely shifted, the perception about our company, because there's a lot of, I should say, it's easier. There's a lower barrier to entry to create info products versus software. Now it's another game. So yeah, it's genius.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good to hear. That's good feedback because I wonder about the crazy ideas that go through my head. However, it's good to know that we're headed in a correct direction. Now, speaking of, software and the games and all the things that you guys do, for some people listening right now, this may have been already like too much. However, I'm told that you've got some information for us that will help us from a very beginning standpoint just even understand automation and how these things work so that we can begin our journey and build our cash flow online. Could you share with us how we could find more about what it is that you guys do and more of this particular information?
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who are overwhelmed, I'll start by calming you down and saying that it's basically a 4 video series that is not about Infusionsoft. It's not technical. It's more psychological, about how to get in the mindset where uh, everything that you would do with Infusionsoft kind of comes naturally and easily to you. So it'll definitely, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's a great place to start. And what you'd want to do is just go to my site on the homepage. There's a little form for it, and it's free. It's mastery.com, but mastery has 3 M's, so MMMASTERY.com. And you guys can grab that, and you'll enjoy it. It's, like I said, has nothing to do with Infusionsoft, but for anybody who has any sort of frustration about, working too hard for not enough, it kind of confronts that question really head on.
Yeah, yeah, and just so that everybody knows, I'm right there learning along with you. So please understand that I'm typing stuff in, I'm learning because at the same time there are so many ways to skin this cash flow cat, if you will, that I get excited about it. Obviously, we're going to continue to provide quality real estate and information and helping you guys do that in the real estate world. But let's think about other ways that we can go out there and share our information in different ways to be able to leverage what we know, multiple streams of income, as the cliche would go, as you're out there getting business done. So I'm kind of curious, Micah, what would you say is if someone's listening, maybe they're listening for the first time, or who knows how many times, and they're wondering, what they need to do to get started, or what that looks like. If you had one thing that you could say to them in closing, what would that be?
I think what it would be is that a lot of things are out there that will help you a lot that you don't yet know about. And so that's why I say, if you're experiencing that, frustration of, oh, I'm doing so much work, other people have experienced that and they've likely put together solutions. And so you can overcome a lot of headaches just going out, and finding someone who's done it before, whether that's information or a product or service. I'm sure you've experienced that with Jay, as far as like, oh, it was such a pain until I got to talk to this guy and he spelled it out for me. So all I would say is don't stay stuck. Like, just keep looking for solutions, because again, if you keep looking, someone has likely had the problem. There's probably a great solution, and maybe even in today's world, it might even be free, at least the first part of it. So yeah, just don't stay stuck. Just kind of keep exploring, because I see a lot of people who deal with issues and it's like, oh, didn't you know this existed? Or didn't you know you could do that? It's kind of sad when they're like, oh my gosh, and you can see kind of they're relieved, but they're still a little bitter about what they've experienced.
Yeah, we've been down that road, specifically with like webcasting software that plays video, and then we find one that works, and we're like, why didn't someone tell us this a long time ago? Totally understood. I definitely want to thank you for investing your time here with us today, and I hope those of you listening were able to generate a decent return from the time that we've spent together. And again, Micah, if there's ever anything that we can provide for you guys, please let us know, because we would definitely be willing to invest with you in any way, shape, or form that we can.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. All right, guys, guess what? You know what it's time to do. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. It's time for you to go out there, take the action steps that you know you need to do. What does that mean? Very specifically, we talked about a book, Awaken the Entrepreneur Within. Maybe you heard it earlier. You said, ooh, I got to remember to go get that. Here's your reminder. Go get it done. And now you're also thinking about, well, how can I get access to those 4 videos so that I can begin to think in terms of automation? You want to go to mastery.com. It's 2 M's, then the word mastery. There you go. Just 3 M's, mastery.com. You'll be able to go over there, go ahead and begin to consume that information, because it's going to help you think those new ideas. Remember, you don't have a money problem, you have an idea problem. And we just had a master share ideas with all of us. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you guys again soon, and we will see you later. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.